Yeah, I've been busy.
Yep.
Like I'm a year in, hired my first two coordinators. The first one I hired 3 months ago. It was like a huge milestone. The second one I hired about 6 weeks ago. The first one is up to speed, man. I put her in CRC Academy, and I was like by her side 5 days a week doing screenings, randomizations, messing up. We're messing up together. Like, you know
Yeah.
how when you get a new study, the first screenings, you're always
Yeah.
generally making mistakes somewhere. So,
Calling up the CRA. Hey, wait a minute. What do we need to do again?
yes, basically. So now we hit a rhythm. My
Yeah.
sub INP business partner, he's currently in a provider meeting getting more referrals. So yeah, man, it's been a year of just struggle, and now it's finally like back to like what I can consider giving me some freedom to do other things while still managing it. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy, really happy.
Good. That's great to hear, man.
And for
Great
you,
to hear.
man,
That's
how about
your
yourself?
third site now. Go Uh, doing pretty good, working as a contract CRA, but also working on my coaching business. I was rep to kind of help me out with sales for the course. Um, I obviously got to a point where I understood, wait a minute, I'm really good as a CRA, obviously. The CRA course is awesome. Still waiting for my first client to ever ask for their money back. About my money back guarantee, 8 hours, teach everything or money back, no questions asked. But I'm not a sales expert. So after a couple of conversations with people that are smarter than me, I then understood, yeah, wait a minute, what I need is a sales rep. So I'm really super excited to see what's going to come of that. He's really experienced in the clinical operations sphere. And he's hopefully going to be making himself a ton of money selling that course. And yeah, and also just talking to a lot of people. Jasmine Adams from the CRA Solution. You probably know
Ah,
her. I'm not sure if you
I'm
do.
interviewing her Friday, or she's interviewing me. I don't remember. One of the two, but we're creating content Friday.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
creating content Friday. For the first time. I never spoke to her before.
yeah. She's awesome.
That's cool. So you guys partnered up
Yeah,
on
no, she's
this.
awesome. I mean, you know her. Well, not really partnered up, but we did like a podcast and really connected, had some
Oh,
great
okay, okay, okay.
conversations, and we just complement each other very well because her thing is helping people with clinical research experience break into their first CRA job. Kind of
Yeah, there's a
overcoming
huge
that
need for that.
hurdle of we want 2 years monitoring experience. Exactly, exactly. So she's providing a great service. So we really just naturally connected. We're both helping out people become CRAs, become better CRAs. So that's been really awesome. And yeah, I'll link to her on my website in a career section. And then also up in Montreal, I'm now cooperating with the CRA School of Montreal. They're going to start offering my course too. They're one of the big CRA schools up there.
Hmm.
And so really super excited about that. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening. Huxley Morton, the recruiting company, they're also working with me now. So
Wow,
any,
I had them.
yeah,
Well, they had me on their podcast. Um, yeah, that was a fun interview. Um,
hmm
and
James Fowler,
Daniel,
James Fowler.
yeah, James and Adam.
Yeah,
Daniel, so many people, and this is good. Daniel's LinkedIn is underneath the show notes, as well as link to the CRA coach website, right? Is that still the website?
yep. The website has actually changed. It is thecra.coach. So you can
Ah,
actually
that's
have a
right.
dot
That's
coach ending now. Yep. So please, everybody, go to the new website. If you go to the cracoach.com, my old website, you'll figure out real quickly that somebody from China hacked it and just took over the domain.
wow. They're gonna train
Yeah.
CRAs too. um. So Daniel, I guess a good way to get into this interview is nice catching up. A good way to get into this is you have no idea, man. From all the guests I've had on,
Mhm,
maybe the only exceptions like Ashley Margot, who's comparable. Uh,
mhm.
People are like demanding to know where you are because we've done our 2 interviews and then they couldn't find you. But that explains the website got hacked, you got busy, contract CRA. But people have been watching our old videos and asking me, "Hey, do you know what happened to Dan Reget?" And at the time, I had no idea. I was like, "No, I don't." Uh, I had nothing to tell them other than the LinkedIn. But it's so good to have you back, man. People have been asking for you, like top 1 or 2 guests I've had that people just are like, "Where is he? Where where is he at?" As if I hang
Oh,
out with you
awesome.
every day.
Yeah, I really. We make it sound like it. No, I had to take everything offline for a year because I went back into becoming a salary or being a salaried employee. And the thing is, if you have a course that helps CRAs become quicker, faster, better at their job, your employer doesn't necessarily dig it when you're selling that to CRAs working for the competition. So I just had to take everything offline at that time. That was during COVID,
Oh
so
man.
it's hit a rough patch myself. Had to take everything offline, and during that little bit over a year that my website was offline and the course unavailable, that was when my website got hacked and stolen and everything. And then when I rebooted it, now that I'm a contract CRA, well, I was a contractor. You're independent; you can do whatever you want to. That's when I saw, wait a minute, the CRAcoach.com's gone. Okay, well, the CRA.coach is still available. But yeah, that's the background story to my disappearing there.
So let's talk a little bit about, so you went as a salaried CRA and now you're back to independent. Um, without
Hmm.
we don't have to mention names unless you want to. I don't care, but I
Yeah.
imagine you don't.
Hmm.
Why
Hmm.
are they not, like, rather than them being worried about, you training people to go to the competitors, why didn't they leverage that? Because every
Hmm.
CRO has this job shortage. And this will tie in perfectly to our next topic, but why didn't they just
Hmm.
leverage
Hmm.
your talent rather than telling you not to? Or did they not tell you not to?
No, they basically that was part of the negotiation before they hired me. Is that would need to be on pause for that time. Um, and I had conversations, but the thing is, with big CROs, and it was a rather large CRO, it just has to go through several levels of management and people that can sign off and make a decision. And because I did obviously tell them, I got this course and so forth and so on. As there's a job shortage. What the course really provide, one of the huge benefits it provides is any CRC that does that course is ready to become a CRA. Like, and all the managers I spoke to, they all just agreed, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll take it up the totem pole," but it just never came to be. Probably would take like 5 years of decision making until it finally hits the level of somebody who could make that final decision. But it just never happened. But every manager that I spoke
Mm.
to, they all got the drift. They were like, "Yeah, absolutely." With CRC, we all have this problem. Want to hire more CRAs. There's a bunch of CRCs that'd be interested and qualified, but they all lack 2 years monitoring experience. And those 2 years, all your CRA tasks, get everything sorted out, everything's streamlined. Well, my course provides that in 8 hours, and they all got that. But it's just large corporations never happened. The ones that I'm contracting with now, that's another issue. Is you talk to somebody, and then you have a conversation or two or three, and then there's turnover, and then they're gone. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, there goes all your conversations that you put into it. And that's also something that kind of happened where I'm working now with a contractor. I also brought it up. Not only, does it help with monitoring quality, just having better, faster CRAs, labor costs because it can get more work done in less time with less stress for them. That you could lower the price for bid defenses and get more business as a CRO, and they all get that. They all get that, but it just always took too long to get to the decision maker, and or I spoke to somebody and then they left the company.
It's a perfect example, man, of big organization, not even necessarily publicly traded, but of course publicly traded ones, but even like just large organizations, they play defense rather than offense, and a lot of the magic is lost when the original founders leave or sell or have a liquidity event, and
Mm,
new managers come in and they're just trained to play defense and protect their own salary rather than figuring out innovative ways to grow the business. One of the reasons why I
yeah,
hate working with those kind of companies. Um, Small is the new big, guys. That's what I keep
yeah.
telling you.
Yeah, I mean, just tying into that is something that I don't understand in those larger companies. If for like the management positions, be it clinical team managers or project managers, why they don't have a model out there where they say, you know what, this is going to be your salary, market value. And if you stay on board until closeout of that study and we hand over everything to the client, everything's done, you're going to get a bonus. Instead, they'd rather deal with people leaving like 2 months before the study is over, and then they scramble to find somebody new who hasn't been on the study for the last 2 years. And granted, they're qualified manager and whatnot, but still, the project just takes a hit. Um, I mean, that'd be something that I mean, I'm not even a manager, but I could imagine that would bring in a lot more stability. Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, who knows? You've got, I mean, too many cooks in the kitchen. All those cliches. Everyone's just trying to protect their at that size. Everyone's just trying to protect their salary and not stir the pot too much. Just keep doing a little incremental
Mm,
improvements, if any. As long as we don't get worse, we're okay. Like that kind of attitudes is
mm.
what causes supply shortage, which perfect segue, right, to our next topic because we're entering a recession. Uh, Clinical research seems to not be as affected this time, unlike 2008, and candidates are getting aggressive on their resumes. Uh, some even making everything up. Uh, you've had this experience. I've talked to these people in the past, and they have no shame. Daniel, like
Hmm.
I talked to one gal, right? Check this out. This was during
Yeah.
COVID, so I was at home quarantined in 2020. Uh, People text me all the time, hey, I want to learn about CRA Academy. A small percentage of people always text me, hey, I already have experience. Can I just do the internship? The answer is no. Or I've done
Hmm.
another class. Can I do the internship? The answer is no. Do the internship with
Hmm.
them if that's the case. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
so this person kept being persistent. Like I'm a senior CRA. I just have been out of the market for 7 years. And I was like, all
Hmm.
right, let me talk. Let's do a Zoom. This person, check this out, Daniel. This person got hired, right, as a senior CRA. She wanted to take my class to freshen up her knowledge.
Uh-huh.
So I said, look, I don't normally do this, but your CV is crazy. Like, I don't know why you need this, but let's do a Zoom, see what's going on.
Yeah.
Man, she showed me, she knew nothing. Like, she did not know what a 1572 was. She didn't know she had access to all these portals. She didn't even know what they're called or what they do. So she shared her screen with me on Zoom and she said, look, this is my EDC. She didn't know what that was, but she's like, this is a portal. It was an IRT actually. This is my portal. I don't know what's going on. And she had all her sites on there, but she didn't know like how to separate the sites. She didn't know where to start. This person was out of their element, like to put it mildly.
But she had a job at that point, right? Do I understand that right?
She had a job and they gave her a
As a CRA,
shit ton of work on her first week and
of
she
course, senior CRA.
didn't know. And even me, man, I was looking at her thing and I was like, wow, this is a lot. Like, I've never worked with this system. I could figure it out if I spent like 2 hours on it, but I don't have that time with you right now, and you're screwed. It's basically what I told her. You
That's
are
the technical
screwed.
term.
Yeah, you're screwed. I told her to quit before someone finds out. I don't know what she did, but like, there's people like this, man. I'm sure. I don't know if you have a similar experiences or uh, this is a problem in the
Yeah,
industry.
not that I had to deal with them myself, but I talked to a lot of people, and I have talked to a hiring manager. Not to give too much away, let's say at some point during the last 2.5 years, and she told me that as a hiring manager, they looked through CVs, and was also a large mid-sized CRO, and they noticed that they had a handful of CVs from CRAs applying to join their team that were all the same. It was the same information. So they'd all obviously been coached on reformatting, switching stuff around, so visually it doesn't look the same. But when they took apart the content, what they noticed is it was literally the same content in the sense of not somebody super junior, just like I've only worked as a CRA for 2.5 years and I want to move on. But it was like over a span of several years, 5, 6, 7 years experience, and you could see that just the years and segments had just been shifted around. But it was the exact same indication phase, yada yada yada, so forth and so on. It was literally the same content that had been just juggled around. And what they figured out is apparently they did some digging that somewhere there was the offer that we will literally coach you on how to get your CRA job with everything being fake. We'll provide you with a CV that is going to
Wow.
fly under the radar. We'll give you just that amount of coaching apparently that you need, or that bit of information that you need, that you might pass the job interview. At least if you try it 10 times, one of them might work. Um, and that is, yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, on not industrial scale, but it's literally somebody taking it really to the next level of cheating, and even providing that service of supporting people that want to cheat on their CV to become a CRA. And your example is a prime example. I mean, especially if it's a couple of years, you pretty much only can apply for a senior CRA role. And you're gonna sink like a rock. There's no way. Just like you said, the IRT, the EDC system, maybe 2, 3 studies right away as a senior CRA,
Yeah.
different EDCs on each system, the ETMF system. You already have to know all the basics. You got to be really ready to hit the ground running. Like how on you only can try that or think that you're going to be able to pull that off if you have no friggin' idea how this job works. I mean, anybody who has any basic understanding of the CRA job wouldn't even try something so pointless. It's pointless. Like exactly that
Yeah.
situation that you just described. Like pull out, pull out before they fire you. I
The
mean,
the issue is that people, and these are not dumb people, these are smart people. Like they're not dumb,
you know,
but they think they can, because they're somewhat intelligent, they think that they can pull it
mm,
off. And it's
mm,
like a whole different world. Like you can't pull it off. It'd be like asking me, to go run a restaurant, and I said I've been a manager for like, 7 years, and then first day I don't know like how to check orders, or I mean it's probably even more complicated than that. Like I don't understand. It
yeah,
has nothing to do
yeah,
with intelligence. You have to figure out like how to deal with these systems. You have to know the fundamentals.
yeah. I mean, I always tell people, it, it's not really, it's not really that super. It doesn't demand such an extreme high level of intelligence. You're not going to be doing the most complicated computations or something like that, or astrophysics or whatever. But the volume of things that you just learn over the years, and how everything ties into each other, timelines for a database lock, how does data management work, what kind of queries do they put in, how does source data verification, well, what kind of different EDC systems are there, ETMF filing of documents, document control, your general communications, and it all ties into each other, and you just learn that over the years. And it's not that any single part of it is super complex or complicated, but it's 10,000 things. And I think we said that before in one of our last calls that we recorded. It's really 10, if not hundreds of thousands of things, and that is something that, with the biggest brain on the world, you you can't make up for that. You can't
Yeah.
make up for that.
I don't think Albert Einstein could say he's been a CRA 7 years and then go in there and do a good job like within the first week or the
Yeah.
first, even the first year. I mean, it has nothing really to do with IQ and all that stuff you mentioned. All right. Those 10,000 things. That's if the sites don't have issues. When the sites have
Hmm.
issues, it's 10,000 more things.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like exactly actually those are the things that you learned from over the years that gives you that experience, exactly all those things that went wrong. That's when you really learn and figure things out. Um, Obviously, also just your general training. I mean, just onboarding.
So
I
I think
forget
what
my
I
Yeah, my
think the
initial CRA
solution.
training was several weeks, and then it's onboarding for another 2 weeks for a new study and so forth and so on. But I'm sorry, continue. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. No, there's just a little delay, so sorry if I talk over you. Um, I think the solution, if there even is one, I mean, I honestly don't think this is gonna stop like any hot industry. Uh, it's gonna attract people, right? And this is an industry
Mhm.
that is lucrative as far as salaries are concerned. I mean, we're not even talking business, just as an employee, it's lucrative. Supply and demand's in your favor as an employee.
Yeah,
So we may
yeah.
not be able to stop this problem altogether, but I think the more like reputable academies we have, the better. That's why like anyone like you, Jasmine, our stuff, there's a handful of other like reputable ones. I
Mhm.
think they will weed out the shady one. There's probably sadly way more uh like bad trainings, right? Like fraudulent almost. So until we weed those ones out, because again, it is lucrative industry. So this is gonna
Yeah.
attract those guys too, those guys and gals. Uh,
Yeah.
I've known people
I
who've
mean,
joined my classes. This can happen to you too. I've known people who
yeah.
join my classes just to take the content and repurpose it, but do it like in a quick way without like doing any internship or anything like that. So it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
But I think the more like Daniel Regis we have, Jasmine Adams, CRA, CRC Academy, like the better, I think, for the industry as a whole.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was going to ask you because you're more in that sphere of the CRA training schools and so forth. I mean, mine's pretty specialized, in helping people that already have a general CRA training. Like, hey, here's a complete streamlined process. Here's all the tools you need, and you're going to be way more. You're going to be way faster, and you're going to sleep better at night. But from the CRA school perspective, like that fake story you told there, or I wanted to ask you kind of what you've been seeing there. I mean, you already told me right now, that somebody takes your course just to steal your content, pretty much. Well, that's nice, isn't it? But kind of like how many fake schools do you think are? I mean, I'm way out of the initial CRA training environment. Pick your brain on that. From perspective of somebody who wants to become a CRA, kind of like what to look out for in those schools, or how to kind of weed out who's only going to give you some stone crap where a lot of essential stuff's missing and the quality is missing.
um,
Does that make sense?
yeah. So I don't know the names because I don't think they have like names. They're just like people they know. There's a lot of this going on since I've been doing this online training. I started in 2016. There's a lot of this going on in the Nigerian community because Nigerians tend to be super highly educated. They immigrate here as pharmacists, doctors, and they're close knit communities. So wherever they go, there's a lot of Nigerians there with them,
Mm-hmm.
and you know there are like that's their marketing is like word of mouth. So they don't like the students don't even know that the person they're going to get trained under is doing anything bad. They're just like, "Oh, this is how you get into research." Like I've talked to former students of these places. They don't want to mention their names, but
Yeah.
they don't have like business names or websites. It's just a guy or a girl like training people. And then as far as doing their interviews for them in some cases, like Zoom interviews, sitting in for
Uh-huh.
them. sitting in for them on the Zoom interviews. I think now they ask for ID um, before a Zoom, like to show your ID.
Talk about taking it to the next level. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
That
happens,
sounds.
man. So you can't blame the student like for being greedy or anything. Like they don't know any better. They're just trusting somebody from their community and they're taking advantage of them. And we've had a lot of these former students say, "Hey, I wish I found out about your training first. Can I do your internship?" No, you can't because their training is crap. Like it's better off if you wouldn't have done anything, honestly. Um, so yeah, there's like a handful of these guys. They tend to be in the Nigerian community. Um, and they tend to be like around Atlanta and Houston from my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
bad, man. If you guys are watching this, I'm not one to tell you how to make your money or not, but you're doing the industry a disservice. Eventually, you will get caught because one of your students gonna complain, and wherever you work, these people work. They're like CRAs too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're CRAs. They have like job. They know what they're doing, so they know the ins and
Yeah,
outs of like how to kind of work the system more or less.
yeah, and probably just try to come up with like the 10 top job interview questions and only coach their clients on answering those maybe. But yeah, I mean, again, it always comes back to I just can only wonder why, like, wow, it's good, it's a well-paid job, and you can Google it, and it's like one of the top 3 jobs in the United States, clinical research associate. It's got to be great.
Wow, I didn't
So I
even
just
know
want to
that.
get in there, even if it takes then, yeah, yeah, but then, yeah, like we talked about, there's no way you can survive that if you're claiming you have a few years experience. Like,
And I've like Nigerian, I owe so much to the Nigerian community. Like at
mm,
one point, I felt almost like an adopted Nigerian. I had so many students. I love the Nigerian community. I owe like everything to that community as far as like our CRA, like CRA Academy getting off the ground because their word of mouth, once they have a good
yeah,
experience, their word of mouth is powerful. And these con artists, they
yeah,
take advantage of that too. So, there's two sides to this, but like the Nigerian people that come here that immigrate here, they're educated doctors, physicians, pharmacists, scientists, and they work hard too. So they deserve proper training, not just something that's going to get them blacklisted before they even get a job in the industry.
yeah. And I wonder how those people actually sneak through the recruiting process, because my experience, at least, and I mean, I'm one person out there in the market. Obviously, I haven't done hundreds of job interviews. It's only been a few, and I never lied. I knew what it was. I just had to talk about what I knew. I mean, I didn't really care. Ask me whatever how I'm going to handle a certain situation. I'll tell you what I would do. Um, but I wonder how they can sneak through the recruiting process if there's kind of lack of diligence there in really putting people through more, yeah, more situational questions or something like that to really
Yeah,
kind of weed out people that don't really have the real world experience. What's your
it's
take on that?
it's it's so easy to weed them out. So it has to be a lack of due diligence, or the interviewer like knows them, or has a relationship with the person who trained them. Um, it's my guess. I'm speculating, but I got on Zoom with this person within 2 minutes. I can tell. I'm like, well, this looks like you have 4 high enrolling sites on your IRT, and she's like, huh? what? What's that? I was like, oh, good luck. Good luck. I got no advice for you, and I do not have time to do your job for you and not get paid for it. Like, this is a very stressful work. Good luck.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's exactly what I told her, and she got scared, but she still thought she can do it. I have no idea what happened to her. I'm sure if I look hard enough, I could find her number somewhere in my history, but yeah, I have no
Mm,
interest in. It actually makes me angry, man. Like, not a lot of things get me angry. That genuinely does get me angry. Um,
mm,
and I don't know why. I think maybe it's entitlement. Like you actually think you can do this. It's crazy. Just if you tell them the
Mm,
truth, there's entry level roles. Like start at the site level.
hmm
Sites, I hired two research naive people. They're great. One is screening somebody today by herself for the first time. She's like texting me during this interview. The other one
hmm
has been with me 3 months. She's like, I'm so comfortable with her. She can just be on her own now. So these people, if
hmm
they work at this for like a year or two or three, however long they want to, they can be CRAs. They can be in-house CRAs and then be CRAs if they wanted to. And that's the right way to do it, not to jump right into
hmm
senior CRA when you know nothing about the fundamental. I mean, I have so these CRO
I
sponsors need
mean,
to do a better job due diligence, I guess.
yeah, because it does surprise me. First of all, that you can basically, with your knowledge or expertise, you can weed it out in like under a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised how they can sneak through an entire recruiting process. But I also want to just second what you say, and I just noticed, since we've known each other, I think we've both now gotten gray beard hair, so we have the wisdom of age now.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it really does come with a more experience, so be wiser and a little bit more experience in life in general, to have that patience. To you and me, what is a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan? Who cares? You're going to get there.
Hmm.
And then to me it just sounds like the impatience of youth, like, no, 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 I'm not, to take all those risks, to go through those sleepless nights, to lie to people, to put all your intelligence and your creativity into faking all that. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of thought, instead of just having the patience to say exactly what you suggest. Get an entry level job. After 2 3 years, you'll have gone through a couple of steps. You've got to gain a lot of experience. Within
Hmm.
5 years, you'll be there if you really put your mind to it. And to somebody like you and I, at a wise age, that's like completely feasible plan. Absolutely, do that. Who cares? March on. And to instead insist, no, I got to get there within a month and a half. To me, that just sounds like, yeah, impatience of youth, some kind of thing. Like, I don't get why you wouldn't choose the legitimate path and just take the time, because you're still going to get there. You're still going to get that salary. I
Hmm.
mean, it's just going to take you the reasonable time that it just takes. And
So
it's stressful enough that way. Go
I
ahead.
think it's interesting, and I've never actually delved into this topic, so I'm glad that we're doing this podcast. What I've noticed from these people, especially the ones that anger me, is like one of the common
Mhm,
denominators I've just noticed now talking to you is they're not actually passionate about research, about medicine. From the people that I've had these experiences with, like the ones who are like, if you're a IMG physician, immigrate here, pharmacist. Of course, so there's people that lie about that too, but you can tell if they know their
mhm,
stuff or not. Like clinical stuff, you can tell. So the ones that are IMGs, pharmacists, whatever, like they're more willing to take that slower path because they understand
mhm,
this is my passion is medicine.
yeah,
So I plan to be here for the rest of my career. Whereas the ones who think like get rich quick, they're the same ones I remember in 2016. They were debating, well, I don't know if I should do your CRA Academy or if I should be a PM project manager for a fracking company. Like they just jump on what's hot. And
mhm,
I have just noticed that now talking to you, looking in hindsight, like that passion's missing. The passion for medicine's missing in a lot of these people trying to take shortcuts. So maybe that's a clue for
mhm,
the job recruiters. Like, and it's hard to fake the passion. Like if you ask simple questions, it's kind of hard to
mhm.
fake it.
Yeah, and then now that you mentioned that, even if you'd succeed pulling off that, you know, fake resume and everything and weaseling your way through and then you get the job, why on earth would you want to do this job that has so many requirements if you don't have the passion for it? I mean, we spoke about this before, that it's really hard to find good CRAs because they have to bring so much to the table. And although every CRA, the common denominator is they don't have a common denominator. They all come from a different background. But And I always start with the weirdest stuff. Like, you got to be able to drive a rental car through a town you've never been in before without causing an accident, because you're traveling all the time. You got to
Do
be
you
able
still do
just
rentals or do you do Uber now?
depends on where I'm at.
Oh,
Like Seattle, I'd get a rental car because it's from SeaTac, right, the highway downtown, straight into the hotel garage. Atlanta, no effing way am I ever driving around Atlanta again, unless you put a gun to my head.
LA?
No, I'll Uber there. Uber.
LA, you
San
might actually get
Francisco,
a gun to
Uber.
your head, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and then the scientific background, the ability to be able to learn about new web portals all the time on new studies and be confident with that, the ability to communicate well with people, the ability to work different time zones. I'm here in Boulder, in Colorado. I fly out to a site in New York, have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning local time. Well, that's 4 o'clock my actual local time from just a few hours ago, and still be focused to do a monitoring visit and so forth and so on. I mean, there's just so many factors you have to bring to the table that would be stressors like heck if
Yeah.
you're not really into it. You
And
know,
that's not even, it's
why
people
would you
don't
do that to
realize how
yourself?
stressful it is. And we haven't even talked about patient safety. Like, I mean, if we're going to get mad about anything,
Mm,
like this lady was on the example I have that
mm.
I've used was a cancer study. Like, you're the last
Oh, come
line.
on.
Yeah, it's a cancer. She's the last line of defense. Like sometimes sites commit protocol deviations on accident because they don't
Yeah,
know they're making mistakes. So if there's like a
sure.
contraindication and somebody missed it, the CRA is supposed to catch that and theoretically
Yep.
stop that patient from being in danger. I mean, it's serious deviation, but that CRA's job.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And here, you're like flying blind basically. I mean, hopefully the site knows what they're doing.
Mm. Yeah,
That
no,
makes me really
yeah,
angry.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I'm swallowing a couple of words here right now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a joke, it's not a
Mm,
game. You're overseeing clinical trials really at the front where you're looking at the real human being's medical chart here. I mean,
mm.
I guess you could say that about your fracking example too. I mean, it caused a huge environmental catastrophe in that arena too. But yeah, I'm not saying it. We're both not saying it's the only serious job with serious ramifications if stuff goes sideways in the world. But it is one of them. It is definitely one of them. And yeah, yeah, it's a great point that you bring up. And yeah, you hadn't mentioned that she was also working on oncology study. I mean, that is really like the worst. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've swallowed a bunch of words now, and now I got something that is that's PG-13. Is like, how can you live with yourself? You know,
Yeah, how can
like
you sleep at
seriously.
night? How can I think I brought this up to this person before. I'm like, look, this is like we just talked about. This is serious stuff. Like these patients, they're actually these numbers are patients. It's what
Yeah,
she just showed me a screen of numbers. I'm like, these are each one is a patient. Someone's
yeah.
like, she didn't even
Each
understand that.
yeah,
Like these
each
are
one of
patients,
them is a human
real.
being.
Yeah, it's a human being. Um, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, this podcast I think is needed, but for people to hear, like maybe there's no shortcuts. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting a career in this industry. There's even nothing wrong with, I think, embellishing your skill set. But I mean, I've done it. I'm sure everyone's done it. But to just make things up and get put into a role that you just have no business being in, that's you got to draw the line somewhere. You know, that's where you got to draw
Yeah.
the line. I think.
Yeah, no, I think too, this podcast is great. First of all, for hopefully those that are trying to pull that off stumble across the podcast and listen to it, and might pull back from that plan, understanding that you're getting yourself into a complete catastrophe and it's not really going to work. And also for hiring managers, to um, really spend a few more minutes during the hiring process for like real life experience. And most most all hiring managers have experience. So yeah, to really put more emphasis on kind of tickling out real life situations, like what would you do here, what would you do there, um, and yeah, and yeah, and just I mean, it really it just amazes me, that I would expect anybody. I mean, like you say for yourself, you could just feel that vibe. You could immediately, with a few questions, figure out, okay, she doesn't know jack shit. She doesn't know what she's talking about, what she's doing. She's way in over her head. It's shocking to me that people can sneak past that process and actually get jobs. But yeah,
It
yeah.
happens. It
I
happens
mean,
way too much. I
yeah.
want
And
to
like you said,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wanna take, like,
No, I
if
was
you're
just gonna
ready.
say it's really about real patience. We got the time delay. I'll
Yeah,
let
there's
you
a
go.
delay, there's a delay. I I was gonna say there's like we could take a sharp left because I've never actually asked you this. Um, and it's part of, like, the passion of doing what we do. I don't know how many years you've been doing this. I've been doing research for about 18 years full time now, and you're probably the same, maybe,
About
I'm
12,
guessing?
13 years.
12, 13.
Mhm.
So, like, I've noticed in my career I would get complacent and then I would have to find a new challenge. So a lot of the reason for me like jumping around doing so many different things is to not get bored. Like this way we have the different academies which take on a life of their own and then we hire people to manage them so I can play with something else. But I've never and my background was pre-med student, but I never respected science. So I always just did it like I saw it as a necessary evil to learn the subject so I can, get a good job, like become a doctor, become a pharmacist. A few years ago, I think around COVID actually, I started like realizing I actually like learning about science. Like I've never in my coordinating or CRA career ever been interested in the mechanism of action of a new drug. And now I'm like, that's the first thing I look at when we get a new study at my site. What's the mechanism of action? I go in deep, deep, deep rabbit holes on this stuff. Number one, so I can talk to providers about it, so I can like educate them on why they should refer patients to us. But number two, I found that I actually enjoy it. It was like a new challenge for me. So do you get into like the science? I never asked you this.
Yeah, no, I'm still in your previous phase of not necessary evil, but I do have a nursing background, so I already have kind of like that basic understanding
Oh yeah,
always. And
yeah.
new study, of course, you could get the indication training by the medical monitor, and I do really focus on that 100%. Like anything, when I'm in a training, I'll just shut everything out of my mind. I'm just focusing. I got my full attention, absorbing it. That's the quickest way to learn, in my experience. Um, but it doesn't fascinate me. To me, again, that's why I created the CRA coaching thing. Is like really like a system thinker. Is
Uh,
I still remember to this day that when I started as a CRA, I had a more gut feeling that although it's super complex, there's got to be a way to structure and organize your work that has to be like the way to do it. And once you get enough experience, ICH, DCP, different clinical indications, yada yada, the study phases and whatnot, and that what that's kind of what I really really wanted to figure out, and that's what allowed me to then eventually, after many years, put that course together, because I'm really a systematic thinker. I have to understand the system behind all of it,
mm,
and even to a point of the system of using subject lines so they tie into filtering that uses your calendar to drop emails that you saved there to tie them into another tool for preparation of a monitoring visit to yada yada, like the head around it. And then my actual passion, and I kind of have that from my dad. He was a teacher. My
mm.
mom always said your dad can explain the world on a napkin, because at restaurants he'd grab out a napkin and and he was super smart. And I mean, a lot of people will tell you that about, oh, my dad was super smart, but he literally got a scholarship at MIT back in his day. So he got a
Wow.
scholarship at MIT. Yeah, he went to West Point, became an officer there. He was really sharp. End of his life, he's American. He spoke English, German, Italian, Cantonese, Chinese, and Danish.
Wow.
And he learned those languages later in life just because he was bored. So he was a really, really smart guy. And one of
Wow.
the things, he could teach anybody anything because he could just pick people up where they were and explain. I don't want to really say, but you get what I mean, dumb down to anybody's level. But
Yeah.
yeah, he could just bring any topic down to your level, explain it to you. And he was a teacher until the end of his life, basically, and just beloved by his students. Like he, for example, he developed. Funny enough, it's like me with the CRA course. He developed a unique way of teaching a language, and that was the thing that he always bitched about. He was like, people will take a language in school for 5 years, and can they speak the language? No. His students could speak the language he taught within a year, and he taught German. Now, German's not known to be a simple language, but
Hmm.
he just developed a completely different system. Like he'd kick the principal out of his class and he would take his class into a kitchen room of the school, and you were only allowed to speak German now, and with hands and feet and whatnot, because what it simulated was how does a newborn learn a language? They don't count. You just play around with the normal stuff in life. You build up your vocabulary and you get corrected when you make mistakes and you just stumble along. And that's how your brain learns a language the quickest way. And anyway, point being, he could teach anybody anything. And that's also kind of the passion that either genetically or just obviously by being his son, I've just picked up is just that passion for teaching stuff in a way that people can actually grasp easily and enjoy learning. So
Oh man.
that's more my focus than the scientific part at this point in my life, at least.
First of all, sounds like my kind of guy. Second of all, I'm sure he'd be super proud of you, man. 'Cause you're carrying on the legacy. I mean, you're breaking down the complex how to be a CRA, how to do your job as a CRA better. I mean, your dad would be proud of you, man. That's pretty cool. That has to come from him.
Course, anybody who's done the course and benefited from it can thank him. Yeah, anybody who's done the course and has benefited
Absolutely,
from it
man.
can thank my dad for it. Can thank my dad for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And not to make this like too much negative, I'm glad we're getting into this kind of stuff now because it's turning into a positive interview. But your example, my example of like people who've been doing this over a decade that reinvent themselves. Who knows how long I'll just keep reinventing myself too. Clinical research, it has so many areas like of reach, like tech, AI, systems, that's all you. Um, and then you get into clinical stuff like the medicine, the science. What I start when I started liking the science, it's coming to me now, like that we're talking about it. This is like therapy. Uh, when I started doing biotech stock videos, I would do my due diligence, and I was like, "Wow, this science is insanely complicated. Everyone is different, and it just the rabbit hole goes deep." So that's when I started getting into the science stuff. But like you can reinvent yourself and you can find your passion regardless of what it is in this industry. I think that's something that's very special about our industry and unique.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're biased. I haven't been in any other industry, but I don't think you can find the same thing there than others.
I don't think so either. I mean, I come from a nursing background. Obviously, we all know people that work in different industries in our personal lives. Um, but yeah, it's a really great point that you make. First thing comes to mind to me is if you like managing, helping out people, you can become a line manager. If you're more into juggling the spreadsheets and timeline, project manager or a clinical team lead, where you're also helping train, manage people. Um, yeah, there's a lot of areas, or if you're just into the lab
Hmm.
part, yeah, working more in that area. I mean, absolutely, absolutely. We're going into switching over and join iMetadata and help them develop the new EDC thing that's going to be all the rave. No pun intended. No pun was intended. Going to be all the rave in a couple of years.
All the
Like
rave.
yeah, there's
If
really
you're fake resume, you
so
don't
many
get that joke.
options. Exactly, exactly. Everybody who laughed is approved by Dan and Dan,
Yeah,
and
there you
everybody
go.
who
That's
didn't
all you
get it,
need. That's all you need for the due diligence.
Yeah,
Uh,
hiring managers take note
yeah,
if
take
they
note.
don't laugh at that pun.
Make a joke with a pun, and see if they laugh or look at you startled. Um, yeah, there's so many examples like that, and there's so many opportunities in this space. I talked to somebody who is a CRA, 8 years. She's also in her first year of medical school, uh, and she wants to start a site when she gets her license as a doctor. So, and she's unconventional. She's 40. She's my age, um,
Mhm.
going to med school because she discovered she's passionate about it because she was monitoring. So you never know what you're going to
Yeah,
learn about yourself if you do research.
yeah, and she's gonna run a great site with that background. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Anything else you want to that we didn't discuss as we wrap up? This was a good podcast, man.
Yeah, no, maybe if we have another topic some other day. I always love talking to you. It's always fun. We always have great conversations. But right now, I don't have anything on my list. The only thing I do want to repeat, anybody interested in the course, I do need to plug it again, especially because of the website change. It is thecra.coach. That's where you'll find the website. And anybody also interested just in general stuff, there's also links to your school, Dan. There's a career section. So I do have partners in the meantime, just good friends by now. If you want to break into the CRA role, I do recommend Jasmine Adams from the CRA Solution. For your next CRA job, Huxley Morton, I'm partnering with them now as
Interviewing
a
her
recruiting
Friday.
company. Yeah, yeah. And Huxley Morton, they're awesome. If they do recruit you as a CRA, they actually provide you with the CRA coaching with the course, so you get access with them. Yeah, and so there's a bunch of just general CRA career topics in there now too. So just want to make sure people find the right website because I heard that a lot. Is your website Chinese now? Nope, it was hacked.
We'll have the links underneath to the CRA.coach. Daniel, thank you so much. Uh, we'll
Thank
do
you, Dan.
definitely do another podcast. And the easiest way for people to reach you is that website, right?
Absolutely. You'll find me on LinkedIn, but just the CRA.coach is the
We'll put
easiest
that
way.
URL.
If it's super urgent, my phone number is on there in the contact section. Send me a
Oh,
text
perfect,
message. I'll call
perfect,
you back.
perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Daniel. And thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. Go check out the links in the show notes or underneath the video. And we'll catch y'all later. Bye bye.